What's up, everybody? It's Jovi with the Good Credit again, here to talk to you guys about tithing. So you're probably searching through YouTube looking for a video like this because you are confused about what tithing is, why people do it, if it's something that's antiquated, and if it's something that you feel like you want to do in your relationship with God. I'm just going to tell you a bit about how I came to the point where I decided that I wanted to tithe, and the steps that really I felt like I took spiritually to get there. Tithing, if you don't know, is when you give 10% of your income to your church or to charitable organizations in efforts to give money and sort of sacrificial offering to God. Really, it's a form of communication to God that says, here is what I'm giving back to you as a thank you for blessing me. That is what tithing is, and that is what I know it to be. Before, like 3 years ago, I didn't really understand what tithing was. I didn't know why people did it. I thought that it was something that sort of people who wanted to donate to the church would do. I didn't think it had anything really to do with God. Like, I just was sort of like, oh, that's what churches do. They have to collect money so they can keep going, and that's what I thought about it. But as I grew a closer relationship with God and really started investigating, what God meant to me, and while I was in college, and then when I got out of college, I started trying to understand how I could offer my life to God in more ways than one, really. And the first sort of step to that, of what I understood and what I learned, was through tithing. In the Old Testament, in the Bible, people would tithe with not money, but they would tithe with a lamb. They would kill a lamb and say, the blood of a lamb is our sacrificial offering. They would offer up a percentage of their harvest in dedication to God, and different things like that. Now, as the church has progressed, and as religion has progressed, and dialogue with God has just sort of grown, a lot of people have come to the question of, what is tithing? Is it necessary? And is it really for God, or is it for making the church rich, or making the people in the church richer? And that question has led a lot of people to stray away from church, to stray away from religion, and to stray away from God, because people have in the past been past and present, and probably future too, will try to use the church. They would try to use religion and try to throw God at you and say, give me money, and they would separate percentages for themselves. They would do things that weren't necessarily right with the money, and they wouldn't use it in an appropriate way for the church or for the community. And so there are a lot of conflicts that come up when you talk about tithing and when you talk about giving money to the church. My journey started when I tried to figure out, okay, who was God to me, and how did I want to show myself and my appreciation for God to Him. And that came out of prayer, out of reading my Bible, out of conversations with just God and I, and out of a whole lot of sort of watching testimonies, hearing other people's stories, hearing and seeing sermons about tithing and about God. When I graduated college, I joined a church here in Harlem, 1 Corinthians Baptist Church, and I really, really loved it because they didn't preach sort of, you're supposed to do this and you're supposed to do that. They just said, this is what Jesus did, and this is how we're going to follow Jesus. And I really felt that message, and I really felt like, okay, wow, I felt like God had been presented to me in a whole different way, and just church had been presented to me in a way that was intellectually stimulating, and not and more sort of fact driven by Jesus's life, as opposed to sort of spirit driven, which is what I grew up on. I think having both really helped me to stabilize what I felt like my relationship with God was, and how I felt like I should be communicating with God. After I decided that okay, I'm in New York and this is the relationship that I want to have with God, I started a fast at the beginning of 2020, because I was like, listen, this is a new decade, this is a new year But also, like, I'm so grateful to be in the place where I am and to have the things that I have. And so let me start this year by saying thank you to God. And I did a 21-day fast. And I started off with just juicing, but then I decided that I would eat a plant-based meal throughout the day. And so I would like juice in the morning, juice for dinner, and have a plant-based meal for lunch, and really embed prayer into my life, and embed talking to God daily so that I could develop that. And I had done many versions of trying to fast and really give time to God before this, but I hadn't done it to this extent, and I hadn't done it with a church community. And so I started doing that in January of 2020. And right at the end of my fast, I was just like, whoa, like, whew, thank you. Thank you, God, for getting me through that. I had written on my vision board at the end of 2019 that one of my 5-year goals was to start tithing and be able to do that consistently. And so when I went into this fast, I wasn't really thinking about that. I still wasn't on that energy. I still was kind of like, maybe next year, God, like, let me keep this money now. But then during that fast, it was just so many little things that happened that showed me over and over again that, like, I can't protect myself. I can't provide for myself in the way that God can. And so why am I holding on to this, little money that I should be giving to God? Because that money is showing that I don't trust God. And so I'm here fasting, and I'm not eating in the way that I usually do, and I'm spending more time with God. And I felt like over and over again God was just telling me to trust him and to be obedient to his word. So I would do little things to practice my obedience throughout the day and try to figure out, like, if I was running on a certain trail, I would be like, okay, like, I'm not gonna set a trail where I'm gonna go. I'm just gonna run, and wherever my spirit takes me is where I'm gonna go. And if I felt like I really needed to make a left, I would make a left. And I would always end up in a conversation or in a place or in the right spot somehow. And I knew it was because something just prophetic would hit my life in that spot, or in the place that I was running, or wherever I was. And I just was like, wow, like, this is me just practicing my obedience, and God is there for me. And so how do I show God that I really, really care, and that I really, really want to be here? And maybe I don't have everything, and maybe I don't have $1 million, but, like, I want to say that I'm here and that I'm present. And tithing was the answer for me. So basically, there were a few things that I learned about tithing that I want to share with you guys that I think would be helpful. That really helps prepare my mind, and prepare my heart, really, to understand what tithing was, and how I could develop that relationship with God and that trust to really tithe and give. The first thing was that tithing isn't about the money. Tithing is about showing that you are obedient, and that you care about your relationship with God, and you acknowledge that the things that you have are not yours, that the things and the blessings that you have been gifted with are not yours to say that I put in the work for this, or I did this all by myself, but to acknowledge that God was there, God helped you through this, and God gave you the favor and the blessing to be able to do something like that, to live in a home, or to have a job, or to, provide for your children, whatever it might be. And so it's a thank you to God, and it's a commitment to saying, I'm building this relationship with you, I trust you, and I love you. That's what it's about. It's about your heart. It's about you saying that although you have given me these things, I'll give them back to you. And this is a mutual relationship. In the same way that you give to me, I'll give to you, because I know that this wasn't mine in the first place. And so because you blessed me, I'm going to try to bless you, or I'm going to try to bless someone else. It is a rotation. It is God putting money in you to put money through you. The second thing that I learned about tithing was that you want to tithe every time you receive, because every time you receive, it is a gift from God, not just at the end of the month. And so that's why I tithe 10% of my income every single time I get paid. So twice a week I'm giving 10% to the church, and that's because that's not even my money. You know what I mean? That's God's. Once you start saying, I am no longer attached to my money, this isn't even my money in the first place. And so, God, if you ask, I will give. Another reason why I started tithing was because I realized that it doesn't matter how much I work, it doesn't matter how much money I make, I'll never be able to provide for myself in the way that God can provide for me. You never know what sort of emergencies are going to come up. You never know what sort of issues stem. You never know what ways you'll be calling for God. And so how do you say preventatively, like, listen, God, I want to build a relationship with you, and I want to make sure that I'm filling out my purpose with you. And so here is my sacrifice to you to show that I'm grateful for your presence. Another reason that I started tithing was because I understood that the church that I attended, that money went not only to the sustainability and the maintenance of the church, but it also went to my community. My church does so many different things in the community and blesses people in ways that I don't even fully understand. And so my giving to God wasn't just giving to the church and saying thank you to the church for preaching to me. It was also giving back to my community. And I'm sure that, that goes a long way for people who I'll never meet. But it's not about meeting people and feeling the sort of the pride of, oh, I helped someone. It's about saying, I know that God will help someone, or I know that God will be over my life. I know that God will help someone that I probably would never meet, but this is for them. It's for that. That's what I've learned about tithing. Those are my experiences. I'm not here to preach to you in any way. I'm not here to say this is what you should do. I'm just here to tell you my experiences and to tell you how I built my relationship with God, and where I feel like it stands, and where I feel like, and what I feel like it means, so that you can make your decision. But really, your decision should stem from prayer. It should stem from talking to God, reading your Bible, and really just investigating for yourself. What is tithing? What does it mean to me? What does that look like for me? So that's all I have for you guys. I hope you got something out of this, and I hope that it was helpful, and that you learned generally what tithing is and how it could be helpful and impactful for your life. I would say bless up, keep reading, keep studying, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.